You know those moments when you're scrolling through your phone and suddenly, everything stops? That's what it felt like for so many of us this past weekend. One minute, we're planning our lives, and the next, the headlines are filled with news that feels straight out of a movie. I'm talking about the recent U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. It was a development that seemed to come out of nowhere, instantly sending a ripple of tension across the globe. Thanks to the internet, we're all witnesses to history as it unfolds, in real time. The announcement wasn't just a news bulletin. It was a notification that popped up on millions of screens, sparking anxiety and debate. People immediately started asking, what does this mean? What happens next? Is this the start of something bigger? In these moments, you see the power of our interconnected world. Information and misinformation spreads like wildfire. Everyone suddenly becomes an expert, a commentator, or a comedian. There were serious analyses, heartfelt pleas for peace, and of course, an avalanche of humor. We didn't just get the news from one source, we got it from every direction, filtered through millions of perspectives online. It was overwhelming, a little scary, and, in a weird way, fascinating to watch unfold. Today, let's talk about not just the serious stuff, but also the very human way we all reacted, turning to each other online, sharing fears, opinions, and jokes to cope. Let's break down what actually happened, because details can get lost when things move fast. On June 21st, President Trump announced that the U.S. military had conducted targeted airstrikes in Iran. The targets, three of Iran's most significant nuclear facilities, Fordow, Natanz, and a site near Isfahan. These sites have been at the center of international concern for years, and hitting them was a major move. The operation used B-2 stealth bombers, bunker-buster bombs, and Tomahawk missiles from submarines, a carefully planned, high-stakes mission. The U.S. also joined an ongoing Israeli campaign, adding another layer of complexity to an already tense Middle East. President Trump declared the mission a spectacular military success, claiming the strikes obliterated key facilities. He framed it as a necessary step to prevent a nuclear-armed Iran and deter further aggression. But the decision was controversial, even at home. Some praised the action, but it also stirred debate within Trump's own base, who remembered his anti-interventionist promises. This move seemed to go against that, sparking debates among supporters. It highlighted the difficult tightrope leaders walk between projecting strength abroad and sticking to promises at home. The strikes were a military event, but the political shockwaves were just as powerful. In a matter of hours, the world was left to process the fallout, and the internet, as always, was the first place people turned. As soon as the news broke, you could feel a collective anxiety settle over the world. The immediate fear retaliation. What would Iran do? Would this lead to a bigger fight? The situation felt like a tinderbox, and the U.S. had just lit a match. Almost immediately, the term World War III started trending online. For younger generations, the idea of a global conflict is something from history books or movies. Now it felt terrifyingly real. The fear wasn't just about soldiers. It was about how a major war would affect everyone, from the economy to personal safety. The fear of a draft became a real topic, especially in the U.S., with young people suddenly asking, could I be drafted? This brought the distant conflict right into people's homes, making the consequences feel personal. The 24/7 news cycle and constant updates fueled the anxiety, making it hard to switch off. The world felt on edge, watching and waiting, with uncertainty as the scariest part of all. In the middle of all this fear, something else happened. The internet started making jokes. As #worldwarthree trended with panic, it was quickly joined by a flood of memes and satirical posts. Social media became the main arena for this bizarre mix of panic and comedy. One moment, your feed showed grim news, the next, a meme about dodging the draft. The speed of these platforms meant the jokes appeared almost as quickly as the news itself. This wasn't just a few people being funny, it was a massive, widespread phenomenon. Humor became a shared language for expressing fear, connecting people who felt the same way. The memes were a release valve for the pressure that had been building. This has become a predictable pattern for any major crisis. News breaks, anxiety spreads, and then the memes arrive. Humor is now a fundamental part of how we process the world, especially for younger generations. So what did these memes look like? They covered every angle with sarcasm and absurdity. Many focused on the idea of a military draft. TikToks of people faking injuries or planning to move to Switzerland, jokes about Gen Z and millennials being sent to fight, or gamers thinking they're ready for war, highlighted the disconnect between digital life and real conflict. Political figures, especially Trump, were parodied relentlessly, with fake enlistment posters and jokes about announcing war on social media. Memes also captured the absurdity of a global conflict being kicked off by tweets and online notifications. And finally, there were memes about people trying to ignore the chaos. Relatable, funny, and a way to find normalcy when the world felt crazy. Why do we joke when faced with something as terrifying as war? There's real psychology behind it. Laughter is a powerful coping mechanism. It helps reduce stress and makes fear feel more manageable. Humor gives us a sense of control, even if it's just the illusion of it. By making a joke, we reframe the scary thing into something we can laugh at. It's an act of defiance. You can scare me, but you can't take away my ability to find this absurd. Connection is another big reason. Fear can be isolating, but a meme that captures your anxiety makes you feel less alone. Sharing a joke becomes a way of forming community and building solidarity. Sometimes things are so surreal that laughter is the only logical response. The idea of learning about a potential world war through a push notification is, objectively, bizarre. Humor helps us process that absurdity and acknowledge the strangeness of our modern world. It's not about making light of the situation, but about finding a human way to deal with overwhelming stress. In the end, it's how we reclaim a little power in a powerless situation, and it's how we remind ourselves that we're not alone. It's amazing how quickly an event can go from a classified operation to a worldwide trending topic. The hashtag #worldwariii became a digital event, topping trending lists on every platform within hours. This is the reality of our hyper-connected world. Information and reactions move at lightning speed. A single event can dominate the global conversation in ways unimaginable just decades ago. The anatomy of a trend starts with the shock wave of news, followed by public reaction, fear, questions, concern. But what really makes it explode is the humor and memes. Jokes make the topic accessible and shareable on a massive scale. For many, social media is now the primary source of news. Facts come packaged with instant commentary and comedy. This blending of news and entertainment changes how we process world events. A trending topic like #worldwariii becomes a digital snapshot of our emotional journey. It shows we're not just passive consumers. We're active participants, shaping the narrative as it happens. Strip away the technology, and what you have is something timeless. People coming together in uncertainty. In the past, people gathered in town squares. Today, we gather around digital campfires. Social media platforms are our modern town squares, where we make sense of the world when it feels out of control. During the #worldwariii scare, these spaces buzzed with activity. Not just jokes, but helpful information, resources, and comfort. Strangers offered support, and people from different countries shared perspectives, creating a global dialogue. These online communities provided stability and connection when the world felt unstable. They became a source of collective comfort and solidarity. Feeling anxious alone is one thing, but knowing millions feel the same way is validating. This sense of community is a powerful antidote to helplessness. Of course, digital spaces aren't perfect. They can spread misinformation and conflict, but during this event, the positive side of connectivity was on full display. Even in a divided world, our instinct to connect in times of trouble remains strong. So, what do we take away from all this? A serious military action sparked fears of war, and the internet responded with a tidal wave of jokes. It's a strange combination, but it reveals something profound about the human spirit. Even when confronted with our biggest fears, our instinct is to find the light, sometimes in the form of a ridiculous meme. This event and the online reaction hold up a mirror to our society. We're fluent in the language of the internet, and humor is how we navigate difficult emotions. The humor isn't apathy. It's a coping strategy for an overwhelming world. It's how we stay sane when the headlines are screaming at us. The power of online communities to shape our experience can't be overstated. The #worldwariii trend was a spontaneous, global, deeply human response to crisis. It showed that history is now written not just by leaders, but by millions of ordinary people online. We all hope World War III remains just a trending topic and a source for dark jokes. In times of stress and uncertainty, we'll always find ways to connect, support each other, and laugh. Sometimes, laughing together in the dark is the first step toward finding our way back to the light.